My name's Don, and we don't have Peter with us today, so it's just going to be me talking about the news. So, hello everyone. This is definitely not a good afternoon kind of day. Las Vegas had a concert over the weekend, Sunday night, where 22,000 people attended, and someone went to the 32nd floor of a nearby hotel, broke out a window, and opened fire on the concert. At the time of recording, 58 people have died, and I think 400 seems to be roughly the number they were going with the last time that I could check before I started recording this. By the time that I upload this, those numbers will probably have changed. There are still people flowing into hospital rooms, emergency rooms, what have you, with injuries, and of course people who are shot are in fact dying. So expect that to be inaccurate by the time that you see this. With that said, there are some ridiculous reports out there that I think it would be a good time to dispel right now, at least based on current information. Again, we'll see what this turns out to be later, but right now there are a lot of people running around talking about how this guy was an ISIS supporter and ISIS has claimed responsibility. The FBI has said rather openly at this point that there is zero evidence that that is the case, and this is what amounts to the meme that ISIS claims responsibility for everything because that's what they do. So if it comes out later that he had converted to Islam and he was a Muslim terrorist, then we'll know then. But right now, we don't know anything. There are no motives out for this guy. There are no anything, really. There's no discussion of the weapons, so anything you hear is all someone's speculation. There are no discussions of how much planning he did, other than clearly he did some, and probably a decent amount. So, if you... Well, at the time that I'm recording this, which is about, noon-ish Eastern Standard Time, there's nothing out there that says anything about anything, and there is enough speculation to drown half the country. And not the least of which, sadly, right at the moment, don't come after me, Poll, but sadly at the moment is Poll, who probably will find out intense amounts of information about this guy, but right now they don't really have anything. I am never against this whole thing where we don't talk about who the shooter is. Well, no. I'm never against it. So his Stephen Craig, the hell's this guy's last name? Paddock. So it's not an immigrant. Stop all that. Well, I mean, someone in his family probably did. But there's none of that out there. What is known at this time is very little. So basically everything is speculation. The sheriff has spoken numerous times about how we're not very clear on anything right now. He is talking about how they are going to try and get a hold of some information about even what he was shooting. But right at the moment, no one has anything. So before anybody jumps to conclusions about anything, just wait. We don't know. There's no going and looking at the guy's Facebook and finding out that he joined ISIS last week, because he doesn't seemingly have one as far as I can tell at the moment. There's no, he was a Bernie supporter, because there's no Facebook, he doesn't have a Twitter. There's not a whole lot of information to go on about this guy right at the moment. So everybody, cool your jets. Now, with that said, there is video of this event, and it's pretty shitty. It's exactly what you would think this would seem like. There's a concert, there are a lot of people, and then a lot of them get shot. And I'll include the links to it in the description. Watch it if you want. Understand that it sucks, and it is not a thing that you are going to enjoy. So, it'll be there. Watch it if you want. Don't if you don't. I'm not going to splatter it all over the screen. That said, this is automatic fire. This is not single-shot weapons, so no semi-automatic, none of that. This is sustained firing, and it is not anything, truth be told, like we've seen basically anywhere else before. At least based on what it is that I have seen in these videos. And there is just a reality that a lot of things are going to happen very quickly once information starts coming out about this. So once again, before anybody starts running around screaming about how we need this or that, or this would have saved everything, or whatever, no, probably not. In fact, one of the things that the sheriff down there in Las Vegas has come out and said is that he does not see a way in which this could have been prevented, which is a pretty big statement to make this early on, but he is the sheriff down there, so he probably knows a lot of things that I don't. So it's going to entirely come down to what the actual facts of this are, and like so many other times on this channel, I have to advise waiting because, you know, you can guess at lots of things. I was watching one of the live streams of this from one of the major news channels, and there was somebody in the chat over there talking about how this was a 50 or something like that, or an M60, and it just had to be. Well, no, it didn't have to be, and there's no way to know until someone actually comes out and tells you what it was. So calm down and wait. And on that subject, Hillary Clinton remains a piece of shit, because this woman, as soon as she got a hold of that this had happened, said, we need to put aside politics and go after the NRA. That sounds like not putting aside politics. How about you fuck right off until we have any idea what happened? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But I personally continue to be happy that she's not the president, because holy shit, what a thing to say. Specifically right in the middle of this. Oh, don't politicize this, but let me. She then goes on to talk about how if the shooter had had a silencer, this would have been infinitely more deadly or something, which is just uneducated bullshit. But look, if there was anyone who ever made a case for them not being president after they lost, it was her. And just, she is a piece of shit as a human being. I'm sure I shouldn't come out that hard against her, but deal with it. I don't know. Fuck her. That said, Bernie Sanders got to about 4 tweets on this before he decided to politicize it, so thank you for waiting. In the world of people that I have to congratulate that I usually don't, Barack Obama hasn't said anything political about this. He just, hey, this is a tragedy. Let's all just acknowledge that it's a tragedy for a minute. Holy shit, thank you. It's nice to see that. Right along the same lines, Trump gave a speech this morning about how this was a tragedy, and our thoughts and our prayers and all the things the presidents say were with the victims and the families thereof. Speaking of that, I will, hopefully by now, probably throughout this entire video, have had a phone number across the bottom of the screen. That phone number is for people who have friends or family members or somebody you know or whatever that should have been in the area that you can't contact. It is for families of victims to find out what happened to their loved ones. Feel free to pass that around. It is probably readily available, and I'm probably not doing anything by putting it there, but I'm going to do it anyway. That said, back to Trump. He didn't do what Trump is pretty wont to do, which is come out and say, oh, this was a Muslim terrorist or any of those other things, implying that even the President of the United States doesn't know who did this. So, again, at least until we know, can we shut up with the blame game? Look, once we know whatever it is that we're going to know, by all means, let's come out and blame all the people and do all the things. Until then, can we stop the bullshit? I don't know. Maybe I'm just asking too much there. But regardless, there are some other important things, I think, to talk about here, which is to say that one of the things that seems to be coming out pretty universally is that, once again, when Americans are in a terrible situation, good things happen, at least as much as they possibly can. which is to say that there are reports from everyone, everywhere attached to this thing, saying that anyone who knew so much as CPR was on hand and working hard to save the lives of these people, every single one of them that they could get their hands on. And they just straight disassembled the surrounding area as much as they possibly could or needed to be able to help them as best as possible. And I don't know, maybe we should spend some time giving a damn that even in a situation where a guy busts out a window on the 32nd floor of a building and starts shooting into a crowd of 22,000 people, enough of our fellow citizens jumped up and did what needed to be done to save lives, or at least as best they could. But, you know, as usual, let's concentrate on just the absolute horribleness of this. So, regardless, I think it should be mentioned, so I'm mentioning it. Anyway, from there, though, we get the absolute clusterfuck that is the news cycle right now. There is not a thing that you can turn on and listen to talk about this that isn't just fear-mongering bullshit in one way or another. The left-wing media is screaming gun control. The right-wing media is screaming about how just terrible and horrible this is, and anyone, anywhere, anytime, and blah, 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 blah. You know, if it bleeds, it leads kind of shit. So, be careful with them, because they are, of course, doing what they always do, trying to wind everybody up into some sort of ridiculous mob, again, while they don't know anything, because they pretty clearly don't know anything. So, I mean, I don't know even who to tell you to look at. I'm always a big fan of Reuters and the Associated Press, both of which seem to be doing some pretty decent reporting on this. Not the least of which is Reuters was pretty quick on the draw with the moment the FBI investigator in charge of this said he's not connected to ISIS. They had it up like that. It's one of the things that I appreciate about them. They're not perfect, but they're doing a pretty good job right now. So we'll see how that goes. That said, there's going to be about 100 links in the description, or at least it's going to seem like it, because everywhere has one little piece about this that everybody else doesn't have. It's really weird. But before anybody starts going off about his roommate or any of these other things, because that's another thing where people are just completely losing their mind, is Stephen here had a roommate in his old folks' home is what it amounts to. And she was supposedly suspected as being a part of this. Turns out she's in the Philippines, so probably not unless she's got a transporter. So I think she's kind of off the hook. That said, though, there were two people who went through the crowd before this shooting occurred, before anything happened, as it were, and started screaming that people were going to die. Now, according to the sheriff, they have a person of interest who they are not naming or even describing, but I'm guessing that it is at least this woman, right? And there were two people, but it's really the woman that they're concentrating on. Now, before anybody gets in a twist about this, once again, wait until we know. Because this could be that she was out there doing, whatever advanced scouting or whatever it is for, this shooting to occur. Or this could be what amounts to, the Westboro Baptist Church that shows up at concerts and talks about how everyone's going to hell and you're all going to die and you're all sinners and all this other crap. We don't know. And by the way, it could be anything in between, including both. So until we know, these people were not definitely the scouts. There's nothing like that going on. At least thus far. But again, I'm recording this pretty well in advance of when it's actually going to go up, so by the time you see this, that may not be true anymore. In all reality, we are probably going to talk about this again on this show on Wednesday, because facts will just be moving too fast right now, unless I was pretty legitimately just running a live stream all day, which sadly I cannot do. There's no possible way I could keep up with how fast things are coming out right now. That's what the 24-hour news cycle is supposed to be about. They just do it badly. Now, That said, the absolute ridiculousness of what is going to happen, well, what has already started to happen, where the news media, the politicians, they all have sort of got in on this, and everyone has picked their horse. Well, I'm coming back to this because I can't stress it enough. Nobody knows whose horse is on the field. Nobody knows what's going on. Everyone is talking out of their ass. And a lot of people are probably going to end up with egg on their face, and I don't want to be one of those people, and neither should you. So don't go run to whomever and spread some information that you heard from this one guy this one time down at the bar, because you don't know. And chances are really good we probably won't know a whole lot for at least a couple of days. Tends to be the way they do things. They'll go through, they'll do the investigation, and the moment they feel really secure about something, they'll hold a press conference. And so we'll get one little factoid about this. And it probably won't be through, until 3 or 4 of those before anyone has a good handle on it. So for the moment, can we just stop the madness? No, we don't need to talk about gun control right now, which I know is what everyone on the right says as soon as there's a shooting. Stop it. And we'll talk about gun control later. And then everyone on the left whines that there's never a later. Well, there is a later. There was Friday, right? There was Thursday last week. But it's not important right then because there's no emotional drive. Well, get past the emotional drive. Then let's speak intelligently about this. There's going to be in the description a link to the Daily Wire in which Ben Shapiro pens a pretty good article about why you don't write legislation while you're emotionally driven. Worth a read. It's rather short. So, by all means, take a look at that. But, regardless, everybody take a moment, take a breath. This is terrible, and it's not going to get any better. But it's not world-ending yet. And, most certainly, panicking is never going to help. Never. Under any circumstance does panicking help. So, don't do that. Wait until you have any idea what's going on before you take to Twitter or Facebook and talk about whatever. I mean, if you want to discuss how terrible this is, have at it, but don't go running around saying he was part of ISIS, because seemingly he wasn't. Don't go running around talking about how he had 2 accomplices, because there's no proof of that. Don't go running around talking about much of anything, because there's not much of anything to talk about. When we know, we'll know, and not until then. And in the meantime, take a moment. If you are close to Vegas, if you know people who are, let them know that, yeah, they're taking blood and they're taking lots. And with the kinds of casualty counts that they're taking a lot. And so, if you have it and you're willing to give it and you're not sick, go down there. Definitely, if you are in Las Vegas, you probably know where to do these sorts of things. If you're not, there are lots of places down there. Unfortunately, I can't get them all because even the sheriff right now can't give them all. He changes what they are every, it seems, 30 minutes. But I promise you, if you express any interest in this, they will direct you if you so choose to do so. And it would be appreciated by lots and lots of people, because 450 is going to have ripples across the whole country. And that's your rough death and casualty count at the moment. So between brothers, sisters, loved ones, what have you, you probably know someone who's affected by this, or know someone who knows someone. Very 6 degrees of separation kind of way. This is probably not very far from you, even in a country of 320 million people. So, if you have something that is helpful that you would like to do, definitely do that. There is a GoFundMe. I will see if I can find a link for it. The sheriff has mentioned it, but he didn't provide a link to it. But I'll see if I can find it to put it in the description. I couldn't before time of recording. But if you are interested in any of that, definitely do that. Don't spread panic because you don't know. Now, in just sort of the only way I can even think to end this is going to be ruthless in the media for a couple of days. You're going to get run down with deaths and casualties and political talking points and all that kind of shit. Don't let these people get to you, and if they start to, stop watching it. Because it's going to make this the new normal, as it were, which is a video that I caught by someone else, Wizard of Cause, that I'll put in the description. And that's probably not good for us. If this becomes passé, then we'll sort of just shrug and move on. If this becomes an overly emotionally charged argument, then we will do something knee-jerk and stupid. All things in moderation. Have the best day you can, everybody. And that's the end of our show for the day.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
And those that sexually identify as attack helicopters.
Feel free to call us names in the comment section. The like button is over there.
And so is the dislike button.
The subscribe button is over there.
Do your thing and have a nice day.
Bye, everybody.